I'm Sarah Dobson, managing editor at Canadian HR Reporter, and joining me today is Jim Lord, president of ADP Canada, a winner of the 2025 Reader's Choice Award for HR. So, welcome and congratulations.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Great. Well, let's get started. First off, can you tell us why it's important for ADP Canada to be recognized with this award?
Yeah, great. Look, I think first of all, it's super important, and we're excited because it's really validation from the people that matter most to us, right? Like we've built and designed all of our products and services to specifically cater to the payroll and the HR community. And so having the HR professionals across Canada, kind of recognize ADP in this way, I think that piece is very exciting. I also think it's an opportunity where it really highlights our local expertise. So ADP's been, in business for 75 years, obviously a very global company across 140 different countries. But we've been here embedded in the Canadian community for the last 46 years. And we've got nearly 3,000 Canadian associates who wake up every day focused on this market opportunity here in Canada. And so I think the acknowledgement and recognition from that HR community here in Canada is just really, really exciting for us.
Yeah, for sure. Well, speaking of that focus, in January, ADP released an HR trends report highlighting a complex business environment, tech advancements, and shifting talent expectations. So, halfway through the year, are these still important considerations for HR?
Yeah, it's a great question. When I think about this, I've been with ADP for nearly 30 years, and I would tell you the world of work certainly hasn't slowed down, and nor has the challenges that today's HR leaders are facing. In fact, you could suggest that all of that is really accelerating with technology, right? So from the emerging tech that HR leaders are having to be faced with to the ever-changing expectations of today's workforce, the pace of change has not let up at all. We like to say at ADP that we kind of help our clients prepare for the next anything. And that's because uncertainty is really the only constant or certainty, within the industry that we're all serving. And so I think the HR trends report that you're referring to really continues to serve as a compass or a barometer to help organizations stay agile, stay focused on their people, and really remain competitive in the markets that they serve.
Yeah, well, that leads into my next question. How are these kinds of insights used? Like, why are they so important for HR professionals and leaders in their workforce planning?
I think when used the right way, they actually help turn moments of uncertainty into strategy. So take the example, if you or I woke up this morning and we felt like we had a low grade fever, you might take zinc or vitamin C or drink some orange juice. You would take some proactive measures to try to hurry up and feel better before it turns into a flu or pneumonia. I think these insights and some of the reporting that we provide, both at the macro level and then even down to the individual company level for the customers that we serve, could provide them with some trending that they may not otherwise have been aware of. So think about maybe some turnover in one of your departments or some degradation in employee engagement in a particular area allows these practitioners today to be able to quickly pivot and make some changes and address those before they become real business challenges for their business.
Well, speaking of engagement, an earlier ADP survey this year found falling employee engagement levels around the globe. So, what are some factors behind the decline and how could it possibly be reversed?
Yeah, it's a good question. We watch this one closely. We measure, even within ADP, we take employee engagement very, very seriously. In fact, though, I think the most recent publication that I found was released on March 13th, actually showed that we're starting to see engagement on the rise again. And so I think globally, about 1 in 5 employees, so think 20% of all employees worldwide are considered to be highly engaged in the business that they're in. And then we're also conveniently seeing, unemployment levels at the global level at record lows. And so those two things bode, I would say that bodes really well for the global economy. But your question specifically around, actions that people can take regarding it or regarding employee engagement, I think there's a couple things. And since COVID, we've all seen like the hybrid workforce has definitely become one of the factors. And so we've seen that hybrid workers tend to be the most engaged workers within a workforce. And so that's certainly a consideration. And the old adage that employees don't leave companies, employees leave managers, we see that continue to be true too. So the most highly engaged employees tend to work on the most successful teams, and people that we see, employees that are working on like mediocre teams or with mediocre leaders, tend to be mediocrely engaged. And so those two kind of go hand in hand. Then there's the obvious geographic, whether it's, social, cultural, economical, political environments also are factors. But certainly there are absolute things that HR practitioners can do proactively that would help, encourage and or drive engagement across their organizations.
Well, finally, you have your ADP monthly happiness at work index. So, what are some important trends you've been seeing for Canada?
Yeah, so one of the funnest ones. So this the Happiness at Work report. It's been around for about 2.5 years, and month after month, it's the baby boomer population that continues to be the most highly engaged kind of workforce or generation in the workforce. They continue to cite work-life balance and flexibility as being the two driving factors between their happiness. But there's other influences too. And so one of them that we've seen has actually been seasonality. And so probably not surprising here in Canada, we actually call it the patio effect. But in the spring and summertime, employees generally tend to be a little bit happier on the index than they do, in the winter months. And so maybe that one's a little obvious. One of the other ones, though, that's interesting, and picture if you're an HR practitioner how challenging this might be, is where we've seen geographic things that have happened outside of the normal business economics. And so think about like a major forest fire happening in a particular area. Generally, the employee workforce population in that area is affected emotionally and has less happiness at work, right? And so talk about all of the additional things an HR practitioner of today has to think about. And now you have to think about the other things going on, maybe way outside of your sphere of influence or control. But nevertheless, kind of an awareness that there are things that you could be thinking about or doing that might help address otherwise some lagging indicators in terms of employee happiness in your organization.
Great. Some interesting insights. Well, thank you again for joining us today and congratulations.
Sarah, thank you very much for having me and for this wonderful acknowledgement. On behalf of my entire team, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
For sure. Well, thank you. And for more great video content, be sure to check out hrreporter.com.